Hey everyone, I'm Clarice. Today I'm going to be going through how to make macarons with you. They are these delicious French cookies. I made this coffee and Nutella one the other day, but today I'm kind of feeling matcha, so let's make matcha macarons today. If you've made macarons in the past, you probably failed like I have many times before, so I hope my tips and tricks help you with your baking. Let's get started. The first thing you'll need is 150 grams of icing sugar and 150 grams of almond flour, which I've put together in this bowl, 100 grams of extra fine sugar, 100 grams of egg white, preferably aged overnight, but if you can't, that's okay too. And I'm using this food gel from Wilton called Moss Green since we're making matcha macarons. And this is a combination of 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So together it would make half a teaspoon. And I'm trying out these Christmas decor. I'm hoping they don't melt in the oven, but we'll see how that goes. So this is the bowl with the icing sugar and the almond flour. I'm just gonna mix it together. And this has to be really fine in order for your macarons to be smooth. So I'm putting it through this strainer, and it's really fine. So I'm gonna go like this and get rid of all the clumps. It's helpful not to put the whole thing in at once. Just go like that until everything is through. So that takes a while, but this is how it should look like after. It'd be a lot more smooth than it was before. And then you'll have a couple left in the sifter, so you can just dispose of that. And this is what you're gonna be working with. So now that we're done with the dry ingredients, let's work on our wet ingredients, which is the meringue. So here we have the egg white, which is what we're gonna be starting with. So put that through the mixer a little bit. Once it starts having to have bubbles, you can put in the cream of tartar and salt. Once it starts to foam up a bit like that, you can put in the extra fine sugar. Please do this gradually because you don't want to deflate the egg white. So once it's at this stage, you can see that it's kind of it's a bit firm, but not too firm yet. So at this stage, we want to put our food gel. So I'm gonna use the food gel and start putting it into the meringue. I guess I'll just use the back end of this spoon. So I'm starting off little by little, maybe this much for now. Just put it into the ring. I'm gonna add a little bit more because I want it to be more green. So about the same amount as the first time. So I think that's a good color. I'll just show you. I think that's a good color. A tip that I have is if you want it to be darker, try to make the meringue a shade lighter, because I find once you whip the air, once you fold the air out of the meringue, it gets a shade darker, so you don't want it to be too dark. So now you're gonna whip this up until the meringue is really firm, and I'll show you what that looks like. So this should be good. Once you see a lot of the meringue is stuck to the whisk, that's an indication that it's good, but let's just test it out. So as you can see, that's a stiff peak. So that is an indication that it's good to go. So now we have the meringue ready and the dry ingredients that we had earlier. So now what we're gonna do is put them together and fold them. So I like to go 1/3 at a time. It's good. And then you can start folding it. So you just want to do this until the dry ingredients are incorporated. And then you can add more. So now you can see they're kind of mixed together already. So now we can start deflating the air out of the batter. So I'll show you how to do that. Just get everything in a circular motion, then fold, and then you can start deflating the air out. So I've been folding for a while now, so let's test to see if it's ready. A way to test it is to take a bunch and try to make a figure 8 out of it. As you can see, I don't think it's quite ready because it's still breaking apart. So I'm gonna be folding for a little bit more and I'll give you guys an update. So I think this is almost ready. Let's test it out. Out the figure 8 again. See how it's not breaking apart anymore? That's how you know when it's ready. And another useful tip I use is when it settles into itself within 30 seconds, that's also a sign that it's ready. So at this point, you want to leave it. Don't fold it any further because you don't want to overmix it and have to start over because that will suck. So now that the batter is ready, we're ready to put it into the piping bag. Oh, I forgot to mention, This is the tip that I like to use. I believe it's, oh here, it's a 12, Wilton 12. So that's the tip I like to use for it. Just gonna pour it in. It helps if you use like a cup or like a jar. That way you don't need to ask anyone for help. I'm just gonna get the silicone mats ready and then we can start piping it. So I have my silicone mat out. You can also use parchment paper. I used parchment paper a lot when I was starting off, but I prefer this now because it has the circles. It's very useful if your hands aren't steady like mine. I find that swirl motion helps a lot, so that the extra batter doesn't carry on. Also, don't make it too big because it does spread out. So once you're done, another thing you should do is to tap it. Sorry, neighbors. The purpose of this is just to get rid of any extra air bubbles. See, right there, it's already popped. Air bubble. So just do this maybe around 5 times. I know I did that way more, but it's good. And as I mentioned earlier, you can already see that the green is already a lot darker than when we were whipping it up. That's because the air bubbles, we folded out the air bubbles. Oh, I forgot. I have these things that I want to try out. Hopefully it works out. Let's try it. I got these from Ulton. So I'll try it out also. Put a couple in each batch. Just in case we destroy the macarons. Okay, I think that's good. And then you're gonna want to rest these until a sort of film forms on top of it. I can show you later, but it basically when you touch it and no batter goes onto your finger. And for some people say 30 minutes, but I think that's a bit long. I like to do 10 minutes. So I'll check back in 10 minutes. I have all the macarons here ready to go. I think this tray is good to go in the oven. I'll show you how I know that. So just put your finger on any of the macarons and you can see that it's developed kind of a thin film and nothing goes on your hand. That's how you know when it's ready. Now I'll show you an important tip that I use. It's very useful for me. So I find that these ledges actually mess with the airflow of the oven, and every time I've baked it just like this, the macarons have ended up being lopsided. So I like to transition it to a pan that's turned upside down, so nothing gets into the way of the airflow like this. So this pan has been turned upside down, and I just put the silicone mat on it. I would use this, but this doesn't fit in our oven. And in the oven, I do 220 degrees Fahrenheit. I know some people do around 300, but every time I've done that, the macarons have cracked. So I like to do 220 for around 13 minutes. And yeah. fresh out of the oven. You can see the feet rose properly. There's one lopsided one, but you can never expect to be perfect with these, but I'm pretty happy with these ones. I'm very happy that these decoration things didn't get messed up. So here's the next batch. Again, we're gonna put it onto this mat. For those of you that have already made macarons in the past, you probably thought I was crazy when I said 13 minutes, and you're right, I meant 23 minutes in the oven. So while we're waiting for the rest to bake, we're gonna let this cool down, and while we're doing that, we're gonna make the filling for the macarons. As I said earlier, we're doing matcha, so you'll need 2 sticks of butter at room temperature, unsalted, icing sugar, and matcha powder. So the first thing you need to do is just whip this up until it's like a white color. Yeah, that's way too fast. Basically, you just whip it until it's smooth. So that's kind of how it looks like. If you've ever been to a hotel, those whipped butter packets they give you, basically that's the consistency you're going for. And now you can add the icing sugar. Start off with 1/4 cup. I don't like to put too much icing sugar in this because the macaron shells are already sweet. So I don't like the filling to be too sweet. So just add that in and then whip it up again. Start off on a low setting unless you want an icing sugar cloud all over your kitchen. But yeah. So you want it on a low speed. And then as the icing sugar gets incorporated into the butter, then you can start going on a higher speed. So I'm just gonna try this. I think that's pretty good. It's not too sweet. Then I'm gonna add the matcha. I like the matcha to be really strong, so I'm gonna add an entire tablespoon. It can be a little heaping if you like. So again, start on a low setting and gradually increase the speed. I'm gonna add a little bit more matcha. And then whip it up and then it should be done. Once that's done, just transfer it into your piping bag. Again, I'm using that 12 Wilton tip. Technically, you can fill in the macarons without a piping tip, but it makes it look a bit neater. So now it's ready. So now you're gonna go back to the first batch. Try it. Some of them vary in size, so I like to find the ones that match in size, just so it could be prettier. Maybe this and this. Do that for all of them. important thing you have to do with this is make sure that these are completely cooled down, because if they're still warm, then the buttercream will just melt. Our first macaron. And you just do that with all of these. So what I would recommend is actually arranging them first. So what I like to do is just arranging them like that. So most of the batches just came out of the oven, so I'm just going to do the same thing, match them up, and then fill them up. So there you have it. Here's the final product. It looks delicious. I hope you learned a thing or two during this video about making macarons. And if you haven't made macarons, I hope you try it. The good thing about macarons is no matter what, even if it's cracked or messed up, it still tastes good. So until next time, happy baking and stay safe.